On to our special story now. The student-to-faculty ratio in one of the premier institutes in the country has once again come to the limelight. As per information provided in Parliament by the Union Education Ministry, over 40% of the teaching posts in all 23 IITs are lying vacant. IIT Varanasi has the worst student-to-faculty ratio with 23 students per every teacher. As per the data, out of 10,000, more than 4,000 posts are currently vacant. Among the older and bigger IITs, IIT Dhanbad had nearly 60% of posts vacant, followed by 53% in IIT Kharagpur. However, IIT Delhi has turned out to be an outlier with just 9% of the posts vacant. So what ails India's premier institution and how can we fix this? Dr. Shankar Mantha, former chairman of the All India Council for Technical Education, joins us. Good evening. Thank you so much for speaking to Mirror now, sir. You've been a technical administrator and the chairman of the AICTE. What ails a global brand like IIT?
Yeah, first of all, good evening. I really don't think there is anything ailing at the global brands at this point of time. There are obviously several ways of looking at vacancies and the student faculty ratios. The normal ratios for a undergraduate program is about 1:15, and in the other institutions other than the IITs, and probably in IITs a little lesser than that, and for post-graduation courses it's about 1:10 and so on. Now, appointing a good professor needs a lot of preparation, a lot of effort in identifying the right people who can fit into a certain department. And then, for example, if they need to have certain qualifications, certain prerequisites, certain publishing credentials, and so on. So identifying those kind of people, the right kind of people, and get them back into the institutions, that takes time. And therefore, some of the institutions which have come recently, some of the new IITs, will probably have that problem. But then it's also there in the established institutions. To some extent, probably IIT Delhi is an outlier. But then 15% vacancies are found in most of the IITs on an average. That's only because of the inability to identify the right people and then get them into the system. That really takes some time. And with probably the reservations also, which have to be respected, there is a problem in getting the right people in. And the second reason is also that the industry has opened up several new opportunities, in terms of employment and so on. So people tend to migrate to an industry because of the better facilities, better salaries, and so on. There is also a third reason. What it says is, like, for example, if there are good professors who would want to join IITs, of course the recruitment happens almost throughout the year, and they need good references. They need references from different institutions across the world where they may have worked. They need to fit into certain requirement of the institution, of the concerned expertise area, and so on. So considering all these things, there is a possibility that one might have 15% vacancies on an average.
Mm-hmm. Well, Dr. Mantha, two follow-up questions to what you've said. One, I take your point that recruitment is not always an easy process. You also need talented people to fill those posts. But consequently, what is the impact that this is going to have on the education provided by the IITs? And secondly, you've mentioned that, barring IIT Delhi, which is an outlier, there is a huge student-teacher ratio, deficit in most of them. What would be then the ideal ratio given these restrictions and given the fact that we know there are these shortcomings?
See, probably the ideal, there is nothing like an ideal ratio. The best student, I mean, there are programs, even within IITs, for certain kind of programs. And if you go, I mean, look at some of the better institutions in the West, in US and probably UK and so on, the ratios could be as good as 1:5, 1:6. And some of the courses do have that kind of ratios as well, even in for some of the programs in the IIT, within IITs. But having said that, it's not always very easy to create that kind of ecosystem where you have 1:5, 1:6, and so on. So the best, probably the best ratio that looks at most of the student concerns would be about 1:15, and I don't think one should really go below that. If you, as far as the students are concerned, the ability to handhold, where it makes a difference is on the kind of projects that are there. These days, people are talking about project-based learning and so on. So therefore, that needs a lot of attention from a student's perspective. And therefore, it's very, in an ideal situation, you should have the best of the best ratios. But then it's not always possible in many of the programs, just because there is a kind of effort to poach on people, and some of we have a large private university system as well. So the perks that are provided within those areas is much better. So people tend to migrate to those kind of areas where they also promise a lot of research potential. Why does a faculty join an institution? He should get a good package, he should get good research facilities, and he should be able to collaborate. He should be able to, collaborate with the industry in terms of real-time projects and so on. So that's how his profile grows. And in that process, he gets good PhD students to work with and create a lot of publications to raise the knowledge quotient. So without these provisions, and today, most of the private institutions have, at least the better ones, they provide these kind of facilities, and faculty tend to migrate them. So within IITs, probably the underlying conditions may have to probably change a little. Maybe if they are tweaked a little, we should probably look at very good results in future.
Dr. Mantha, one final question. Several new IITs are announced, foundation stones are laid, but there is a huge infrastructure problem that the IITs is facing. Very recently, the Comptroller and Auditor General of India has said that the 8 new IITs that were established in 2008-9 have fallen short on almost all performances, administrative and infrastructure parameters.
I mean, see, these are all technically they are all work in progress. The most of the time is spent in acquiring the land that is identified for setting up a certain IIT. That's where most of the time is lost. As far as infrastructure, setting up infrastructure and things like that are concerned, there's a lot of funding available, at least for the IITs. And I don't think there really is a problem area in that aspect. So therefore, if the setting up of institutions is taking time, probably it's the most of the time that's lost is in acquiring the land and also identifying the kind of facilities that have to be created, the ecosystem that's required so that the institute performs in its set objectives. So as far as creating infrastructure is concerned, if it is civil works, it goes on a very timelines, on set timelines. acquiring equipment and things like that, that doesn't take time. Only if there are a lot of equipment that has to be imported and so on for specific research purposes, that probably can take time. But otherwise, there is a certain amount of time that's required for setting up a certain institute. So if the land is available on a certain date, then the rest of the institute probably should not take more than 2 years' time to setting it up.
Well, Dr. Mantha, thank you so much for speaking to Mirror Now. Really appreciate you joining us here with your insights.
Thank you. Thank you. My pleasure.